several, thank you very much. um, Several factors contribute to these challenges, and addressing them is crucial to ensuring a stable and skilled workforce in this sector. Here are some key challenges that we face in the sectors: low pay and benefits. Social and support workers often receive low wages compared to the level of responsibilities and emotional demands on their role. They have limited access to benefits such as healthcare, retirement plans, and professional development, which can make the sector less attractive to some candidates. Another challenges we face is high workload and stress. So care workers can be emotionally and physically demanding. The work can be very demanding. I've worked in the industry before, so I know. This can lead to high levels of stress and burnout. A high workload may contribute to difficulties in retaining staff, as employers may seek position with a better work-life balance. Also affecting them will be lack of career progression in the industry, limited opportunities for carers to advance their skills, discourage individuals from this discourages individuals from entering the social care sector. A lack of clear career path sometimes may lead to perception that this sector does not offer long-term um, prospects. Then also training and development opportunities. I'm not going to say too much about that because one of our guest speakers is going to say something that they're doing in the organization or what she's helping the organization do in terms of training and development to help the retention in the industry. Another area is the public perception and recognition. It is very evident that care workers are seen as the low end of the chain, so they're not respected in their work as much as their work is very, very important in keeping our aged population, taking care of them, and also caring for those with challenging and difficult behavioral problems. There's also demographic change because the aging population is an increasing one in the UK, and this contributes to a growing need for workers in the sector. Recruiting and retaining staff becomes more challenging as the demand services outpaces the available workforce. Another side that affects the industry is the impact on of eternal events such as global health crisis, like the pandemic that we've just come through right now. This constrains the social sectors and increase demand for services and add pressure on the existing staff. Also, another big side of it is the regulatory requirements. We all know about CQC and the stringent regulatory requirements and bureaucratic processes that creates barriers to entry and increases the administrative burden on the owners of the businesses and also the workers. So complying with these regulations may divert time and resources away from direct care for patients. So the idea today is now to have an open discussion on how we can help the care industry, adult care industry in the UK with recruitment and with retention, so that the best talents are not just coming in and leaving the sector itself. So before we continue, I'm going to ask my colleague, Alvina, to just share what we do in Enigma International, and then we'll now go into a technical session where we speak to one of our guest speakers. I'll hand over to you now, Alvina. Thank you.
Thanks, Stanley. Welcome, everybody. So my name's Alvina, like Stanley mentioned, and at Enigma International, we are providing a complementary solution to support managers as well as the care home owners in, helping them with their recruitment as well as their retention. Our free service is designed basically to streamline the hiring process. We provide access to a pool of qualified candidates while offering expertise in strategies for staff retention. So we'd like to help you build a reliable as well as a dedicated team, ensuring that seamless operations, and it also enhances care for our residents. And it's at no cost to you, as a care home at all.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Alvina, for talking about that. So Enigma International, as one of the co-founders, the idea is that when I worked in the industry, I realized that owners go through a lot of stress in terms of running the business. It's very stressful. The margins are very low. So I thought about what can I do to help them in that industry. So this is why we formed Enigma International to help in terms of the recruitment, in terms of the training, and also in terms of the retention of staff so that we can keep the best talents in the industry. And one of my guest speakers today that we're going to be asking questions owns a care home, a support home, or a living care home here in the UK and in the east side of London, Audrey Joseph. I've been very fortunate that she gave me my first opportunity to work in the industry back in 2012. It seems like a long time ago. And she also, trained me. She's one of the owners that I know spend a lot of finances and resources on training their staff continuously to make sure that every staff in the organization have the highest standard in terms of their knowledge and in terms of what they know about the work. So I would like us to welcome Audrey Joseph, CEO of Divine Care Home. Welcome, Audrey Joseph. Are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Could you hear me?
We can hear you loud and clear.
I haven't sorted out my how to connect it to the computer, but as long as you can hear me, my face isn't important, not unless you insist on trying to get my face into this presentation. But hi,
no problem.
and
just bear with me a second. Bear with me a second. People are complaining on LinkedIn that they cannot join.
no,
I'll just ask our technical guy to look into that for us. All the people on LinkedIn that we've sent the link to, can you just check with them because they're saying that they're sending me a message that they cannot. They're waiting for it to start when we've already started. Could you look into that for us? Yeah. Okay. Sorry about that, Madam Audrey Joseph. So could you just tell us briefly about yourself and the care home that you run in the east of London in Barking and what you guys cover? If you could just tell us briefly about yourself, please.
Hi. Okay. Stanley says I run a care home. I run 6 care homes. I run 4.
Yes.
I run 6 care homes. I run 4 children's homes, age 8 to 18. Children with autism, challenging behaviour, learning disability, emotional behavioural difficulties, age 8 to 18. And we are one of the few that also run a add-on pathway to adult services. So I have 2 care homes that run adult services, so it's 18 to Home for Life. And how the system works is we transition our young people when they come in, we work on their independent skills, and they get to 18, and then we'll transition them to our adult service. So we have a follow-through program. They don't just leave when they're 18, they actually go on to our adult program and continue to develop their independent skills and working on those core survival skills, I would call them, into adulthood. So that is what I do in a nutshell. We're registered both with Ofsted and CQC. We have 2 homes under Ofsted that are outstanding, rated outstanding in all categories. And our homes on CQC, they're rated as good. So that's me in a nutshell.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. I remember when I used to work for you, it was 1 home. Now it's 6 of them. So apologies about that. It's been a while. It's almost over 10 years when I worked in this organization. So one thing that actually helps me in terms of what we're discussing today is that I worked for Reed Employment for over 4 years. So recruitment is in my blood. I know about recruitment. And one of my roles when I was working for Audrey was to recruit for the business, which we did very well, and we still continue to work with them on. But the other side of it is that I have been hands-on on the business, so I know the stress that is involved in taking care of these wonderful children or young adults that we took care of, or if you're taking care of older people, I know the emotional stress that comes with that. So what I wanted to discuss or ask, the question I want to ask is that what challenges do you go through when it comes to recruiting the best staff, knowing that you have your regulators there watching everything that you're doing? And what challenges do you go through, Mrs. Joseph, in terms of recruitment and holding on to good staff in the industry?
The recruitment process is very, very costly. I think that's one of our most expensive programs in recruitment. We recruit all year round. One, due to expansion, and two, due to just trying to identify staff that are suited to this environment. Qualification does not mean they are suited to work with our young people. Sometimes we have found that people that don't have the qualification but have the passion are more suited to this environment. However, due to regulations, the qualification is required. So I would say qualification is important as an entry, but it is not the top priority for us. The top priority for us will be to recruit people that have a desire and a commitment and a love to work with children with such needs.
Fantastic. That's a fantastic answer. And being in the industry for so long, your experience puts you as one of the homeowner to actually be able to give advice on this subject. And what we want other homeowners to do is actually hear that from yourself, because a lot of them are spending time on or they must have 3 years experience, 4 years experience, which is very important. Some of them are saying, oh, they must have this or that before they can work in the industry. Whereas you're saying that you rather have the passion, then you can always train them, provide the training for them afterwards, if I hear you correctly.
That's correct. I think a lot of emphasis is based on qualification, and that is because of the regulatory requirement. A basic entry level could be MVQ level 2. But we've had people in the past that have got level 5, level 7, and that just shows an ability to attain knowledge. It doesn't show an ability to transmit a passion, which is unfortunately not a qualification, but it is a requirement of the job. And I think for providers, yes, emphasis should be placed on a basic level of understanding of the field, but more importantly, it should really be based on their passion and their commitment and their drive and their determination to work with such challenging young people. And I'd always say in recruitment, that is very, very important.
You're still on mute, Stanley.
From your experience in the industry, Audrey, and knowing how long staff stay with you, you're one of the organizations that I know staff stay very long, and your retention is very good. Could you just tell us what you do as an owner of these 6 homes? What do you do to hold on to your staff? How do you keep them interested in the industry? I know you do a lot of training for them, but just tell us some of the things that you do with your staff that keeps them in the industry, because some of your staff I know have been working for you for years and they love what they do and they continue to stay. Could you just tell us some of the things that you do to improve your staff retention?
Yeah, one of the things that Ofsted did highlight is that we do have a very high staff retention. We have like 98% staff retention, which wow. If you put that in terms of people, we've only had 2 people leave, one for relocation and one due to maternity. I think the key to what we do is staff appreciation. We acknowledge staff, their commitment to the organisation. So we have weekly recognition of staff. We will highlight a member of staff and we call it Spotlight. So we spotlight a member of staff, and that member of staff, we talk about them, we put their information on a display board, and we talk about why that staff member has been outstanding, or why that staff member has come to the management attention as this person is what we consider to be demonstrating the best ethical practice within our field. Staff do like that recognition. We also have Employee of the Month. So as well as having a staff recognition every week, we have an Employee of the Month, and that is not necessarily the same person. That staff member gets a voucher to the value of £50, and they get their picture on our notice board. So it really is about staff recognition, appreciation, respect. I can't lie, staff salary is really, really important, and I can't pretend or present a picture as if, just by acknowledging them without any financial remuneration will hold your staff. What I have found in this industry is that if you pay your staff over and above the market rate, they are more likely to stay. So our staff are paid over and above the minimum wage. We have also won the award for Investors in People. To win that award, you have to ensure that all your staff are paid over and above the minimum wage and the living wage. So finance is a contributing factor. I won't say it isn't, it is. Because what you'll find, staff, they can leave if the organisation down the road is paying 50p more an hour. They can leave, and they will leave. Also, what is really, really important, what we've found for staff retention, is, it sounds silly, but it's also the amount of hours that you're able to allocate. There are a lot of organisations out there, especially with this new sponsorship. There's a lot of people being brought over under the government sponsorship, and unfortunately they're not being given the hours that would constitute being able to survive in the UK. And so one of the things that we've found that helps us to retain our staff is we do provide the contracted hours plus unlimited overtime. Sorry, Stanley, you're mute.
Sorry, fantastic. That's something that I can attest to, that even as busy as you are, you still work very hard to ensure that everybody has the right amount of hours that they work in the industry, which is very great. Now, I would like to ask you, welcome, Norma. Thanks for joining us. Sorry, we had technical difficulties in logging you in, but thank you for joining. So Audrey was just telling us what she does in her care home. Audrey runs 6 care homes here in the UK, and she was just telling us what she does in her care home at the moment in terms of retention of staff and also to keep the good staff. And what was amazing, Audrey gave a 98% staff retention. 2 people have moved on. One was for maternity leave, and the other one was for relocation. So 98% in the industry is amazing. So there's a lot that we could learn from how she runs her care home here in London, or the care homes, because there's 6 of them. Audrey, I just wanted to ask you, recently you took one of our staff from us, you recruited them from us. And how did you find that process of recruitment, and how much money did we charge you for that?
Hello?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, sorry, my volume went then. I apologize.
No problem. Should I repeat the question, or you heard me?
Yeah, no, could you repeat the question? I don't know why my volume has gone very low. I'm just trying to...
Okay. So I said recently you recruited a staff from us recently, and he's one of your staff. I was told, he called me a few days ago and said he was made staff for the month, and even though he's only been working there less than 6 months, then I'm asking you, how was the process of recruitment through us, and how much did we charge you? Were we very expensive?
In terms of the recruitment of the staff member that you put across,
Yes.
as far as I'm aware, we wasn't charged. I might be wrong.
Right answer.
No, I was gonna say it's like, were we charged? I didn't check with finance. As far as I'm aware, we're not charged. We have taken on board a young gentleman, extremely hardworking. Again, when we speak about Employee of the Month, it's just that recognition of what that person, how he has contributed to the organization. That's why he was awarded that.
Fantastic. It speaks very highly of the organization and the amount of training it does. It tells me that you're always enrolling me in training. Could you just tell me how you enrolling them in training keeps their mind focused and gives them that, that hope that there's a possibility of moving up in the organization? Because I know that's something that you do well. You help them set a pathway on how they can become a manager one day, and you set them in training most on a monthly basis that they must follow and complete to hit that pathway. How do you use that to motivate them to stay in the industry?
I think the training motivates them to be good in practice, to be honest. We do have 45 pieces of training that during your first 6 months you have to complete. It sounds excessive, but they're online training portals, so staff could do that in their lunch hour or when they're on a night shift. A lot of the training is done during their induction, so they spend 2 weeks at the head office doing induction training. Then they spend a week on site doing shadowing a more senior member of staff. And I do find that the training gives them the confidence to be able to do the role, because the training really does emphasize the expectation of the organization. During supervision, which is done every month, the supervision will touch on the training. What have you learned from this training? How do you think you will implement what you have learned into your daily routine? So it's questions like that. Also, it's important that you look at, the training. Part of the training is also every member of staff has to read the young people's care plans, and they have to be able to tell you about the care plans in their supervision. So what this is doing, it is making them more aware of the requirements of the role. It's making them more confident by their knowledge, and their knowledge is being assessed every month during training sessions, supervisions. We do a lot of teams, staff meetings where we have training sessions in the staff meetings on teams. So we do put a lot of emphasis on training, and I think training also feeds into retention.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. I'm aware of that. Like I said, the young man that is working with you currently tells me the amount of training that he has to do and how he enjoys it, that he feels valued and he knows that it costs the organization money to pay for those times. What he told me that was actually fascinating was that every time he was called into the head office to do training, he was paid for those hours. So he was motivated to actually go in and do the training, not as opposed to where some employers say, come for training, but you're not going to be paid for the hours. So people are thinking about childcare, they're thinking about other things, and they don't want to pay. Now, I'm going to bring one of our guest speakers on, Norma Sherwin. Norma Sherwin is going to introduce herself. This woman does amazing work. She's been in the industry. She worked in the industry for over 30 years. She does an amazing work. I'll let her introduce herself. I don't want to do her injustice in the introduction. And Norma, welcome on board. Could you just give us a brief introduction about yourself and what you do.
Hi, yes, thank you very much. Yeah, I worked in healthcare for 38 years and then recently trained in coaching, holistic coaching and NLP. And I've put together the experience with the new knowledge to create packages to support the person, the actual person. I mean, it's fantastic to have the supervision, the training, and to make that person feel valued. But when something happens and they go home at night, they've got their life. They're still a human being, not a human doing. And we need to really nurture that person, because they will then give more care and take care of them, because they're the person at the beginning, aren't they? You know, so we need to make sure that they're looked after personally. And that's a main thing to me, is to care for them that care for others. Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Well, we had that conversation recently. I was very amazed at your concern for managers of care homes and the immense stress that they on. There's not just managers, owners. We have one of the owner on board here, Audrey. She runs 6 care homes, and what you've put together to help managers in the care industry and to help them, to help retention, is very important. Why? Because these managers, they come in, they learn the system, they learn the ethics of the care home. Then due to stress or one thing or the other, they now leave, which now leaves the owner with another trouble of going to find another manager. So is that some things that in your experience you've done for owners or care managers in the past that helps retention in your experience in this industry?
Yeah, I think that when, especially if they have CQC inspections, or there's something particularly gone on in the home, if they've had a fire, sudden death, anything like that, they need some downtime. Then they need someone to go to and actually talk about it. You know, we can't just put that to one side and carry on, press it down in ourselves and carry on. We need to be able to like desensitize from it. And you know, deep sea divers come back up and they go into a room for days to make sure they're okay. But we don't do anything with the feelings and thoughts of these people. They just carry on trundling on, and their expectation and the legal amount of regulations around them is massive pressure. And you know, they take it on for all sorts of reasons, but then we really need to make sure that they feel secure in it and they feel valued in it. I worked with a regional manager with 9 care homes, and my whole role was to support the managers, not just with the home, to audit, to check the training, the KPIs and things, but to actually go in and say, how are you doing? How are you today, really? And to get to know them more. And now I do it remotely. I don't go in the homes to do it. I just do it from home and, you know, via Zoom, and check in on them, and I'm there on a WhatsApp group should they need me, especially in induction and returning to work after a long absence. And just getting to know them as people and knowing what they've got outside can help, because we don't know what they're bringing in with them in the day. They could be coming up from an abusive relationship, poorly parents, poorly children. You know, this could be anything else going on in their lives. And when we actually took care of these people as people, it was amazing. We had fantastic homes. The only thing that changed it was operational changes. And then, you know, it's not something that carried on, which is a shame. But seeing the difference and the retention and, you know, the training stats and everything going up. I mean, it's lovely to hear Audrey's story, because it's really refreshing to have somebody that does the training and really values the staff as people, as well as staff. Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Norma. During that discussion, I remember having a conversation where, you know, one of the people that were recruited said to me, listen, I'm not working for the next 2 weeks. And I said, oh, what's happening? Is everything okay? She says, no, the person I was taking care of has passed on. So she's taking care of somebody for 3 years, and that person passed on. And we just expect her to just pick up another customer like that without caring. This is a relationship that they formed over the last 3 years. This is somebody that she sees on a daily basis. And we think that this doesn't have any effect on them as human beings. And from what you've mentioned, it's very important that they have that outlet and somebody to be able to just go to and say, hello, this is how I feel. Yes, we don't want to be pampering you and all of that, but at least somebody to be able to talk to say, I've taken care of this person for the last 3 years and they just passed on. It affects me because I saw them as a friend, as somebody that I cared for. So what you do is very, very valuable. And it's so important that care home owners or managers have that access or somewhere to go to so that they can talk to people. And sometimes when I talk to people, they give that as some of the reasons that Stanley is very difficult in this industry. And I could get paid more somewhere else, but I could get cared for more somewhere else as well.
Yeah.
That's why they live in the industry. I don't know what you have to add to that.
I think when somebody has been like that for 3 years and they have been, doing personal care with somebody, getting to know them intimately, looking after them, they become sort of like a second family to them. And then they are going to run the bereavement cycle. They're going to come away from that relationship, run that bereavement cycle, and then that will have an impact on the next person they go to. And if we don't get them through that and we don't actually acknowledge it and be aware of it and support them through it, then we're basically breaking people, in my opinion. I think we're causing something that we don't need to cause. It's a privilege and an honor to be able to look after somebody, and people run that, but they don't look at the other side of it where they can be getting damaged from it as well, because we also have that in our own personal lives with our own family. And when we've got this pseudo family, then it happens. We're still going to run them sort of cycles in ourselves as people, and we do need to be able to have an outlet and to be able to address that and not just push it down and forget about it. It's just not fair.
Fantastic. Thank you very much for that. I would like to bring Audrey back into Audrey Joseph. Where's Audrey Joseph? Can we add Audrey Joseph to the panel, please? I don't know why she's gone out of it. So Audrey is one of our owns 6 care homes, and I've had the privilege to work with Audrey many years ago, and she taught me everything I know in the care industry right now. So Audrey, I wanted to just hear from you, based on what you just heard from Norma and Sherwin. I know how much you take care of your managers in your organization. Yes, we've talked about the support worker and what you do for them. What are the things that you do for your managers? Because they are very integral in running the business, and the experience and the knowledge you've passed on to them. What do you do in your organization to take care of your managers to make sure they stay? Because I know your managers stay with you for a very, very long time. So can you just tell us some of the things that you do, Audrey?
Oh, first of all, I fixed my camera, so you can now see me. So that's important. Mm-hmm. That's really important. I say that because when I am on Teams meetings, it's important for my managers to have their cameras on, because I like to speak to people. And I think with current technology, you could end up just speaking to initials on the screen, and it becomes less personal. And so that's one thing I do, try to get my managers online so that I could see them and speak to them. Norma made a very valid point, and one of the things that happened in our organization about 4 weeks ago, is how a staff affected when an allegation is made. Now, Norma talks about going out and how are you really. We had one young person, we still have him. He made an allegation against 9 out of 11 people in one house. 9. Now, although the allegations were really far-fetched, what we had to realize is the impact that those allegations had on the individuals. Some were in tears, because obviously, as you know, if an allegation is made, that person cannot work with that young person. When there is 9 people, these are even people that hadn't even worked with the young person. He just picked everyone, we had to move 9 people from one house to another house, and then bring in a new 9 people. That caused 2 problems. The 9 people that we moved out of the house, they were relieved, but very upset. The 9 people that we moved into the house, they were very upset, because they didn't want to be working with this young person either. So we had 18 people that were really upset, because one half, we're under investigation for these allegations. The new lot coming in, we don't want to be, because this he was just saying things, and, oh, this person karate kicked me across the room. This person, some of the threw me out the window. okay, some of the allegations, you know, but as an organization, we cannot say, well, that allegation's not, that doesn't make sense, that one doesn't make sense. That we have to process it through the LADO, through the police, through the you know, child protection team, as if they were all true allegations. That was very, very difficult for the managers, because what we did, and it helped, we had immediate one-to-one meetings with those people immediately. We were very open, very transparent. This is the allegation against you. How are you feeling? How are you feeling about this? And allowing them to express. It was visually obvious how some were feeling, but even for the guys, and I'm not being sexist, the guys were really openly upset. You know, these are guys that really work well with him. I really work well with him. I take him go-karting, I do. And I think it almost felt like a betrayal. And I think what Norm was saying, I really do resonate with. We need to remember that these workers are people, and these people, they have other issues outside of the working environment that we ask them not to bring in. Don't bring in your household, argue with the wife, argue with the husband. Don't bring it into work. But what we don't realize is, or what we don't acknowledge is, we never say to staff, don't bring the stress of the work home. You know, we're very one-sided. And when these allegations were going on, every single one of them, we were saying, go home, speak to your partner, speak to a family member, just really get out how you feel. We also have we started it in COVID, we have a helpline for staff. The organisation pays for the helpline, it's independent, but it's for staff and their families. And we registered for this at the company's cost during COVID, and people were able to just call in to this helpline and talk about how they were feeling, how COVID had made them feel, whether they'd lost a loved one, or just generally how they were feeling. And I really feel that that helped. So the helpline was used during this allegation process to really support the staff who were under allegation. But funny enough, we had at least 50% of the staff who weren't under allegation, but who were referred. They also called the advice line just to talk through their anxieties. So we do try to provide routes out of the organization where you can speak in confidence about what your concerns are, as well as HR, as well as your manager, as well as supervision. There is also a link outside that, you know, not only the employees, but their direct family could also use and speak about how they're feeling. So I hear what Norma's saying. It really is important. Staff, their mental health is important. In working with, especially, I wouldn't say just the young people that I facilitate, but, you know, like Norma said, when you lose, or sorry, Stanley, you know, when you've cared for someone and then they die, you just think, well, I put in my best and I put in 100% and they died. You almost, you know, I could imagine you would feel almost let down by life, that this person is now, you know. And then you think, well, do I go and put that same energy into the next client? And what if they die? You know, where does it stop? So yes, the support of staff, the support of the management team, and don't lose sight of how important your staff are, every single one of them. From the support workers to the cleaners, you know, to the health and safety to the senior managers, they are really important to the organisation. They are the backbone of the organisation, and they should be respected and appreciated for that. Yes.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. I was speaking to Alvina yesterday, and Alvina recently joined us in Enigma International. And when I was speaking to her about why Enigma exists, we're not just like any other company. We really care about people. It's about people. I'm telling her that, listen, this industry is very tough to work in. We want to be an avenue where people come to and just discuss things that in the British organization, we're supposed to keep an upper stiff lip about these kind of things, and people go and suffer in silence. And that is why people are leaving the industry, because they don't have somewhere that they can have these kind of discussions. Now, just listen to an owner telling us about the stress that they've just gone through with one of the kids that they're caring for, and 18 staff affected in that scenario. Where do they go to discuss that? Where do they go to be able to get advice? Even though I know Audrey is extremely experienced in this situation. So that is why Enigma International is there to help owners and managers deal with this kind of stressful situation. Yes, today we're talking about retention and recruitment and retention in the industry, but we're touching on some of the things why people are living in the industry and the support that we could put in place for them to stay in the industry. We've touched on training, we've touched on support where there's tough decisions going on. And one thing I'd like us to touch on as we go forward is that what role does, we've touched briefly on the training. Audrey talked about the training that she gives her staff and how that keeps them going. The question I want to ask, and maybe Norma and Audrey could help me in this, as owners or people that own care home, what role does the right recruitment, getting the right people on board from scratch, play in retention? A friend of mine says to me, if you get on the wrong train, every stop you come to is bound to be the wrong stop. Okay, so you've got to get on the right train to start with. In terms of recruitment, how do we get the right people into the industry? At the moment, there's 130,000 deficit in staff in the care sector, in the adult care sector. We don't have enough people in the UK to do that work. The young demographic of the UK do not want to do this kind of work. They don't see it as, if I could use the word, sexy enough or career to do that. How do we tackle the gap of 120,000 staff in this industry? I would like to hear from either you, Audrey, or Norma on how we deal with this. Thank you.
Norma, would you like to go first?
Yeah, I don't mind, Jeff. For me, I think obviously getting the right person for your homes and not just taking anybody, to fill a gap. In the nursing's terms, we used to call it a pin and a pulse. As long as they had a pin number and they're alive, we took them. And that's just wrong. You're setting them people up to fail. I was asked once to take a manager because CQC and local authorities were breathing down the neck. We need that chair filled. Go and interview the manager, and whatever she's like, take her. And I said, no, morally, that's wrong. I'm not doing it, because we've basically, it's like interview fodder, and we can't treat people like that. So get the right person in the beginning and nurture them from day one. When we give them the induction, help them put the practical to the theory, have the support there for the person. So anything that they need as a person, they find it struggling, they've got someone to go to. HR, occupational health, employee assistance line, fabulous, all have a place, but they're reactive. We need to be proactive. So having somebody in the background where they can tap into. I mean, on my induction ones where people, they're doing something, they don't quite understand it, they've no one to ask because everybody's busy, and they can just come on a WhatsApp and say, I'm stuck with something, help. 4 weeks into my first management job, I had a CQC inspection for 2 days, and I was like, what? It was really frightening. But we got through it because the people I was with, I was lucky enough to have somebody that did understand it and was there for the whole inspection with me to show me and guide me through it. And that was my basis of my beginning in care homes, and one of the good experiences. So I do think, obviously, but getting somebody that just fits with what you've already got. You've built this up, somebody that fits with what you've already got. And then they can come in and they can put their little stamp on it with, and your policies, procedures, systems and processes, put their personality on it to an extent. And they own it then, it's their ownership. And let them be aware of their gaps. If somebody's come through university and it's the first time in a care home and they've not done the practical, we need to show them these things. If they've come work from the kitchen and the way up and people are now, oh, she used to be all right before she was manager, now look at her, she thinks she's something. We need to fill them gaps. We need to do that training around that. And we need to keep that person-centered. We're doing person-centered care. Let's do person-centered staffing. And when we do person-centered staffing, we'll retain our managers, which then will retain staff. And providers will be able to sleep at night, hopefully. So.
I totally agree with Norma. I think I like Stanley's analogy, you know, if you get on the wrong train, every stop will be the wrong stop. And I'm going to use that. So if you hear it again in my delivery, then I got it from Stanley. So, hey, I'm making it clear that that's a really good statement. And it's very, very true. You know, we have, don't get me wrong, we have made some big boo-boos on recruitment. And we've taken people that we sort of, they sort of fit out of staff shortage, or, you know, especially during the pandemic when people had left because of the fear of COVID. And we've taken people almost, you know, you want to put a square peg in a round hole and they sort of fit. But one thing's really important, and it's not written anywhere, but you need to go with your gut. There's something about a gut feeling that the amount of times we have had, you know, there is just something not quite it. And you'll find going down the road within about 4 weeks, you'll begin to see what your gut was telling you as to no. I think when you go through an applicant's CV, a true story that happened a couple of weeks ago, in March, we had one of our Ofsted inspections, and obviously they looked through the staff file. And we had taken on a senior in February. She was the last one in, so Ofsted wanted to see her file. Ofsted looked through this person's file, and Ofsted said our gut feeling, which was quite, Ofsted said, I don't think this lady will stay very long. She's had far too many moves. And we picked it up and during the interview process, and we was able to show Ofsted that we spoke about that. It didn't mean it wasn't a gut feeling that she wouldn't stay. We were showing Ofsted that, yes, we'd picked it up also, but Ofsted picked it up, and they said, this lady won't move. She's very unstable. That was just their opinion. 8 months down the road, and we began to see, can I leave early? My mum's sick and my dog's sick, and then someone's broken into my house, and every single story under the sun we got, and this is since March. So we don't always get it right, but what is right is your gut feeling, and you could just know, especially if you've been in this industry, and it is a very small industry because staff go around and then you hear that person's working there, or you go visit another home and you see the staff member that you were so happy to get rid of. Everybody leaves. Every recruitment is someone that's left somewhere else. They haven't fallen out the sky. They've left somewhere else. And I think when you're doing your reference checks and you're really trying to find out what were they like as a team player, what were they like motivating staff as a leader, what were they like in hands-on. I think we should ask more questions, because a lot of, unfortunately, bad staff who an organization has finally got rid of, they'll be heading our way, so you'd think, oh, they've got their level 5 and but actually, you know, this is a person from hell that you've now taken on board, that, you know, got every ailment, every opportunity. You know, this is just, you know, not good. So yeah, I would say your foundations of go with your gut, because I don't just look at qualification. You know, tell me about yourself, tell me what was challenging. The interview process for us is an hour and a half, and we ask every question so that, you know, things that have come up in the past. One of the ones to ask that is really key: are you committed to just us, or are you working somewhere else? The reason why that's really important now, there are a lot of people that's doing nights in one organization and then they'll go straight to a day in another. That produces a major health and safety safeguarding risk, because these people are just tired. You know, you get a lot of staff, I want nights only because they think they could sleep, and then they go on to their day job. And you could get someone doing that Monday to Friday. They've got a day job, and then they've got a night job, and then they've got a day job, and then they've got a night job. You know, I think things like that, you really need to pay close attention to those staff members that only wants night shift. They'll say childcare, I've got to take my child to school. No, they have to be flexible. You know, they have to be able to work days and nights, because the training that you're doing, they have to attend the training, and that training is often in the day. They have to come to staff meetings or attend online, and that is during the day. So I think that's one of the biggest things to watch out for in the recruitment process. We also give them numeracy and literacy assessments. It's really important. We also give them a very abstract picture. I don't know if Stanley remembers this. And we ask them to write what they see. That shows you how imaginative they are, how factual they are. It also shows you, should you be concerned, because we've had some people that really write some really way out bizarre things, and it makes you think, hold on a moment. So if an incident did happen, you know, what on earth are you going to write? So yes, it does bring out a lot about the person. How much detail do they see? What are they looking at? What have they decided is their main priority focus when looking at the scenario, the picture? And it's just a picture, loads going on in the picture, and they're to write about what they think is going on. The numeracy side is good because they have to write reports. These reports could end up in court. I mean, the literacy, they could end up in court. They could go to the young person's parent. So it's important that they're able to have a good level of English and able to construct a good sentence. And the numeracy part, they're going to be handling the young person's money. So they need to know the basic exchange, what I should get from my money, how much something should cost, because they're representing and they're advocating on behalf of the young person, and they are the, you know, they hold the funds for that young person. So things like that, Stanley, we look for in our recruitment process, and that's why we recruit all year round. We do actually recruit all year round. We do recruitment days, and from that there are 3 different sessions, and at each session we observe and we eliminate people just based on poor engagement. This person's on their phone, this person's really not engaging, this person's clearly not a team player. Let's work some more, let's give them another exercise, keep an eye on that person, let's see how they engage. Yeah, it's also one of the last point I'd like to make. I'm very old school. The quickest way for me to determine if someone's paying attention is when you're doing an induction or your training and they don't write anything down. They just walk behind you and nod. I always ask, are you planning to remember everything I've said? But I'm old school, and old school is you have a pen and paper and you take notes. And that practice, you know, I don't care if we're in the 21st century, that practice still stands today. You want to see someone who is taking notes, who is asking questions, who genuinely looks as if they're following what you're saying. And if they're not, they're able to confidently say, could you repeat that? Or does that mean that? You know that they're listening, you know? Or tell them something really ridiculous and see if they challenge you. You know, we go flying on a Wednesday. Oh, Wednesday, it's parachute jumping. Tell them something really, really bizarre. And if they just sit there and nod and say, okay, you realize that, you're just not with it, are you? You know, I've just told you we go parachute jumping. These are elderly clients, and you haven't challenged my statement or asked for correction of my statement. So yeah, they're just little tips that I use, basically.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. I must say, while working with Audrey, I learned so much about the industry, the meticulousness and the hard work that she put in. And it's no surprise that the Vine is growing as an organization. I want to, we've got less than 3 minutes left to go. So I just wanted to thank our guests for the input that they've put here. At Enigma International, we're not a recruitment agency. I keep saying that to myself and my staff argue. I say we're not a recruitment agency. We're here to add value to our customers, our clients. We don't charge anything for our service. Why? Because we want to be an extension of your business. We want to help you get that recruitment process right. We want to help you when you're going through tough time in your businesses, because that is what we're about. And when you're looking for that staff, because most of us have worked in the industry, we know the kind of people that will fit in your business. If you're interested in recruiting through us, we're happy to come and sit with you. We cost nothing, zero. You don't have to pay us a penny for the recruitment service that we provide. Zero. People say, is that real? I said, yes, you don't have to pay us for it. And so we'll sit with you, we'll learn what the culture of your organization is, we'll bring you the right people, you can interview them. One thing we know is that the people that we recruit for you, they stay longer because we learn the culture of your organization. We'll be having webinars like this on a monthly basis where we'll be having fantastic guest speakers like we've had for Audrey and for Norma. They'll be coming, owners, trainers, workers in the industry, to share their experiences on how you could improve your recruitment process and how you could improve your retention process. Why? Simply because it affects the end product user, and it also affects the bottom line of your business. So I just want to thank our two guests here. Norma, thank you very much for taking the time. Madam Audrey, thank you, my boss. I really appreciate the time that you've taken out. Thank you very much. We'll be having this session every month where we'll discuss the challenges in the care sector and how we can contribute and help. So if you want this recording, our technical guys made sure we were streaming live to a few people, which is great on LinkedIn, and we'll have it on Facebook, and we'll be able to share it with some other clients. If you have any vacancies we can help you with, reach out to us. Avina is there. You can reach out to her at avina@enigmainternational.co.uk, and she'll be able to help you with your recruitment process, all free of charge. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful day. And I want to again say thank you to my guests for coming on board. Thank you very much. I really appreciate your time. Thank you. Enjoy
Thank
the rest
you,
of your week.
Thank you, Alvina. Thank you, Stanley. It's a pleasure.
Fantastic.